I have a deal at CBS, so I'm doing a number of pilots right now, and I've been doing some pilots, and as part of my deal I can run a show. And so Under the Dome was developed for Showtime over 2 years. Steven Spielberg's company had the rights to the book, and so Brian K. Vaughan, who's a graphic novelist, wrote the adaptation over a 2-year development period, and then Showtime ultimately passed. And Nina Tassler read it and said, "This is exactly what I'm looking for a summer series. I want to break the mold and do a summer series." And so I was brought on, and we did notes. I did notes with Brian to make it a show for the network, and we shot it, and it became the most successful new summer drama in 21 years, and changed the approach of networks now, where it's not just about airing a new series in September, but year-long. Stephen King is, a true genius and one of the loveliest people I've met. He wrote the first episode in season 2, and it was just a terrific collaboration. He's supportive. He knows that he had to set up a lot of points for the season, so he was very collaborative with us in doing so, and not just running it to a place he wanted, but really embracing that he had to write an episode that would set up the entire season. He reads all the scripts, he looks at all the cuts. He's just a real cheerleader for us. He lives in Maine, but it's like having him because we can Skype in Los Angeles. So he's a terrific supporter, as is Steven Spielberg, who brings his visual acuity to the show. So we do a lot of special effects. This is the first show I've done that has had so many special effects. It's a big part of our budget, because there is no dome, obviously, but we have to have one that looks like it. And this year the dome was moving, inching towards the people of Chester's Mill, so it was tearing up the ground, it was shaking, we had earthquakes, we had tunnels, we had people sucked into vortices. I mean, all kinds of crazy things happened this year. So we had butterflies everywhere flying, on bodies, leading the way out. Maybe we'll see what happens next season to another place, perhaps to escape from Chester's Mill, as it was being closed in on by the dome. So we have a whole different approach, which is directing around, yes, green screens and blue screens and eggs that light up, but have little gadgets, little batteries inside, and then the special effects team makes it look real. I do like doing 13 episodes because we can focus more and gives you a breath, so you can do some other things in TV. It's very tough to do 25 episodes of SVU. We had to do tandem episodes where we shot 2 shows at once. One show would be with Ice-T and Belzer, one would focus on Mariska and Chris, or we'd pair Chris with Belzer and Mariska with Ice-T. We had all these little gimmicks of ways of doing that, so we could maybe not really make it really clear to the audience that we were shooting several shows at once. But it was really, tough, but we had such a well-oiled machine that we were able to do it. ER was path-breaking because it told the story from a doctor's perspective. There had been no television series prior to ER that used doctors as writers. I believe I'm the first doctor writer on television. There were medical societies like the American Medical Association that would be involved in shows, and they would sprinkle medicine on top of scripts, or there would be consultants. But actually having writers in the room who had lived the life of a doctor was unheard of, just as David Kelly was one of the first lawyers to do law on television with LA Law. And that really changed the way television was done. Now there are no medical series without doctors on them as writers, and there are no legal series without lawyers, because the audience wants the veracity and the verisimilitude of being in that place. And we are the ones who can give it. ER was fortunate to have the Steadicam. It had just been really invented and used in a few shows, and so that allowed us to just track through the space and follow the doctors as they're rushing around, and you didn't need cables and all of the equipment that previously in dollies that would made it very difficult to do that. Now you could just zip around, and ER laid the groundwork for West Wing. Everyone thinks West Wing was the first show that had, the tracking shots, but actually Tommy Schlamme had directed several episodes of ER, and he directed the live episode as well. And so he knew that that would make a perfect style for West Wing, going through all of the offices. So really ER was the precedent for that. There'd be no West Wing without ER, there'd be no ER without the Steadicam. We always explored character on ER. I mean, ER was just completely character driven, with the medicine as the conduit for exploring their characters. We always used to say that it wasn't about the traumas. The traumas were the window dressing for whatever the conflict was that was occurring between the characters. It was never about, let's do a great trauma scene. It was, let's do a great trauma scene that shows how Noah's character is insecure, or Sherry doesn't know, which way to go, or Tony and George are fighting over how to treat a patient, or Eric wants to do it his way and everybody else wants to do it their way. And getting into their characters was through the trauma. And the trauma had a lot of what we said pace and pathos, so it kept your adrenaline flowing. So I don't think that there's really been a change in character development. I think there's been a change with when The Shield arrived, that we saw a down and dirty character who also did good things. And that's been imitated many times. But in terms of character exploration, Hill Street Blues, NYPD Blue, ER, St. Elsewhere, we all did character development. What's different is that we have more time to write complexity, I think, into a show in terms of both plotline and character development, and we're not afraid to kill characters, though L.A. Law killed the character, too. So, and we, Tony Edwards' character was, died on ER, and characters left. So all this Game of Thrones, attention that, they're killing characters. Characters have been killed off. They're just not killed off in the massive number that they are now on Game of Thrones or on Under the Dome, where we do say you never know, no one is safe.